All right, guys, this is by the channel Disturbing. Like I said, it says the most disturbing case I've come across, Chris and Channon. This was requested by Underground, so thank you for the support, man. Again, this is by the channel Disturbing. Let's go ahead and check it out, guys.
I've been doing my channel now for around a year and a half, and since I began, I've almost become desensitized to this kind of content. But every once in a while,
Amnesia the
you
bunker
learn of a
is so
case that
hard,
is so
lols, I'm
despicable
stuck.
and so disturbing that it shocks you to your core.
Oh, gosh.
This is one of those cases.
What the hell
On the evening
happened?
of the 6th of January 2007, a young couple planned to go out for dinner together and then attend a friend's party afterwards.
Hey, 2007, so we're going back a few years.
The couple's name was Channon Christian and Christopher Newsom. The two had just recently started dating. Chris was 23 years old and described as an excellent baseball player and an incredibly popular young man who worked as a carpenter. Channon was 21 years old and was an avid golf player. She was also studying sociology at the University of Tennessee. Channon went to a friend's apartment to get ready. Chris was running late, and Channon told her friend to head down to the party without her, and that she would wait for Chris to come get her. At around 8 PM, her friend made her way down to the party, and Channon stayed and waited for Chris. But for some reason, they never made it to the party.
Oh, no.
The young couple's friends became concerned as to why they never arrived, so they began calling and texting them, but they got no response. Concern only grew as more time passed. At around 11 PM, two of Chris's friends went to the apartment where Channon was getting ready, and there they found Chris's truck in the parking lot, but they were unable to find Shannon's SUV. Shannon's mother woke up on the 7th of January with
What the hell happened to Channon and Chris? Oh, or where's Chris?
worry for her daughter's well-being. She never made it home, and she wasn't answering her calls to her mother either. Then, Shannon's mother got a call that would confirm and intensify her worry.
Oh, no.
Shannon's best friend had called her and told her that the couple never made it to the party, and that her SUV couldn't be located. Then,
Did something happen to both her, Channon, and Chris? Or did Chris do something to Channon and then Chris disappeared? Or if I wonder if like something happened to both of them.
only moments later, Shannon's manager made a call to see if she was okay, as she never came into work that day. It was at this moment, fearing the worst, Shannon's mother Dina called 911 to report her daughter and Chris missing. But unfortunately, the authorities were unable to act until 24 hours had passed, because both Chris and Channon were adults. Her parents anxiously waited for a call from their daughter.
Oh, no.
That never came.
Something bad happened.
Because the police were unable to act, they took matters into their own hands. They asked for some help from Shannon's mobile phone provider, who were able to inform them that her phone had pinged at a Cherry Street phone tower. Cherry Street is a high crime neighborhood in the city.
Oh,
A
no.
neighborhood that was described as an area you don't go into unless you live there, or you're up to no good. The family and friends of the
The 24-hour thing is a myth. Cops are just lazy? Really? I didn't know that. Damn, that's sad.
couple searched the Cherry Street area, where they found Shannon's abandoned Toyota 4Runner. Although
Was she
they noticed some
kidnapped?
strange things. Channon was known to take very good care of her SUV, but the floor was covered in mud. And not only that, but the seat was pushed all the way back, to a point where Channon wouldn't have been able to reach the pedals.
Oh no.
Channon also kept photographs of her loved ones in the SUV, but all of these photographs were missing, along with a missing iPad and a teddy bear.
What?
A packet of cigarettes were found, despite the fact that neither of the couple smoked. The police managed to find fingerprint evidence, which would lead them to the address 2316 Chipman Street.
That's a creepy looking little house. Oh no. Where's Chris?
Address was only 2 blocks away from where Shannon's car was found. The investigators identified the prints as belonging to a man named Lamarcus Davidson, a known carjacker. The case is dark and disturbing reality.
Their car was robbed with them in it? Maybe zombie.
Chris's body was found near some railway tracks
by
a railroad employee on the 7th of January.
They killed
had
Chris?
been wrapped around his body, and a sweatshirt was wrapped around his head. He was gagged with his own socks, and his ankles were bound with his own belt.
Oh my god.
And his hands were secured behind his back. His bare and muddy feet indicated that somebody had made him walk without any shoes on to the area where he was to be killed.
That's
he had
freaking
multiple
terrible.
Gunshot wounds that was consistent with an execution-style killing, and he had been doused in gasoline and set on fire.
What?
Semen was also found inside of Chris.
What?
But the DNA had been destroyed by the fire.
Oh my god.
Now let's rewind and go back to when Shannon's friend left the apartment complex. Chris was indeed on his way, and he did actually manage to arrive to the apartment where Channon was waiting for him. Both he and Channon were spending some time together alone before heading down to the party. They stood talking outside of the driver's side of the SUV, holding each other and kissing in the car park. Although they were totally unaware that they were being watched by a gang of carjackers.
Talk about being at the wrong place at the wrong time. Why didn't they just drive to the party? Why did they stop? They should have just went to the frickin' party.
In the blink of an eye, the young couple had guns pointed at their heads.
Oh my
gang had,
god.
Of course, come for the car, when all of a sudden, a set of headlights came through the apartment parking lot. The gang of carjackers panicked, and with the guns still pointed at their heads, they shoved the young couple in the SUV and drove away.
Wow.
The couple, still held at gunpoint, are taken to the house on Chipman Street.
I know a few people in the chat earlier said that you thought that this guy Chris did something to his girlfriend Shannon, but no, he didn't do anything to her. They were attacked by multiple carjackers and then shoved into a vehicle. We learned what happened to Chris. Oh gosh, I don't even want to know what happened to Shannon. She's a very pretty young lady. I'm sure these frickin' carjackers, I'm sure whatever they did to her was nothing good.
Near a waste management and recycling plant. The 5 people who were involved in this crime was George Giovanni Thomas, Letelvis Darnell Cobbins, Lamarcus Davidson, Vanessa Lynn Coleman, and Eric Boyd.
There was 6 different people?
Davidson was fresh out of prison and was on parole for previous carjackings. And the other people I mentioned above were staying with him in his house. The 5 of them were described as unstable and were known to cause trouble. Lamarcus was poor and frustrated at his lack of money, decided that he is going to steal a car. So that was it. They set off into the night.
Damn, like I said, just wrong place at the wrong time. Chris and Shannon should have just drove to the frickin' party they were going to. Oh, they paid with their lives. They haven't said what happened to Shannon yet, but I'm assuming she was killed as well. If what they did to Chris, I'm sure they killed Shannon too.
and that's when they came across Chris and Channon. Chris would be murdered first.
Damn.
He was raped and seriously beaten, and they did all of this in front of Channon too.
Oh my
And
God.
made her watch.
That's so
After
freaking
this,
sad.
They led Chris to the railroad tracks. This is where they would take his life. Davidson encourages Thomas to kill Chris,
What's up, Aldrich?
so he fires a bullet into the neck and then in the back. Chris was very much still alive at this point, and he was paralyzed laying on the ground. Prolonging the suffering, they left him for a moment, until Davidson then shoots Chris in the head, execution style.
Yo.
The absolute brutality of this killing is enough to cause some serious disgust and rage. But the gang were not done yet.
I hope all 6 of those carjackers, the gang, whatever you want to call them, I hope they all got life or the freaking death penalty. It better not end like that other story. Oh, they got manslaughter. No. They better have got life in prison or something worse.
Far from it. In an attempt to hide potential evidence, they wrapped his body in the comforter, and that's when they doused his body with gasoline and set him alight. While Davidson and Thomas were
Frickin'
on the tracks
sad.
with Chris, Channon was left with Vanessa Coleman. When they came back from the railroad, they set upon her. They tied her up and savagely beat and raped her too.
Oh my
And the
God.
gang mutilated both Chris and Channon's bodies while they were still alive. The full details are just too graphic to share, but with a quick Google search,
Guys, what's wrong with people? Why do people do sick shit like this?
you'll be able to find out exactly what happened to them in full detail and the severity of their injuries. But if I'm
My
honest,
God.
you need a strong stomach for that. The attackers then told her that if she was to comply, they would let her go. Vanessa was the only female complicit in this crime, was fully aware of what was happening to Channon during the 24-hour torture of her. She did nothing and made no attempt to help her.
How long was it?
Our torture of her. Fully aware of what was happening to Channon during the 24-hour torture of her.
Wait, what? 24 hour? Oh, I thought they made it seem like they got rid of Chris fairly fast, and I thought they killed Channon quickly as well. 24 hours?
Yes.
What do you mean
James
24
Aldrich Part
hours?
5, The Return Home.
They held her captive for 24 hours before they freaking killed her? Oh my gosh.
She did nothing and made no attempt to help her, apart from occasionally bring her water. She had many chances to help, as the two women were alone in the house together on multiple occasions.
I would have
Channon was then
freaking
strangled
ran.
and beaten until she was no longer conscious,
I would have freaking
though
ran.
still very much alive. They then tied her up in a fetal position. Davidson, in an attempt to destroy his DNA, poured bleach down her throat and inside her body.
Oh God,
She
bro.
was then wrapped in 5 bin bags, and a white shopping bag was placed over her head. They then stuffed her into a trash can. Channon slowly suffocated to death.
Oh
Her
my
eyes
God.
were open when she died, and her body would soon be found.
Can you guys imagine? Oh, that would just... Imagine bleach being poured down your throat. That would burn so bad. Oh my gosh, that's so freaking terrible.
To pick up where we left off before, the
That's
police
so
managed
terrible.
to find DNA on an envelope in Shannon's car. So the police made their way to 2316 Chipman Street on January the 9th. When they arrived, they found the house unoccupied. As they looked
Hey,
around
thanks
the
for the
house,
donation, man.
they found Shannon's body in the trash can in the kitchen. The 5 large trash bags which Davidson had wrapped her in had his prints all over them. along with his sperm too.
Gee, many
All
crickets.
of her possessions that were missing from her car was found in their house too. Davidson's sperm was found on Shannon's jeans, and Cobbin's sperm was found on her jeans and sweater too.
You sick
The
bastards.
police also found bullet casings that matched the bullets that were used to kill Chris. On the 11th of January, the 5 of them were arrested and charged with the murders of Chris and Channon. Eric Boyd and Vanessa were charged as accessories to the crime, but Coleman was arrested for murder. After the arrests,
Thank God.
a journal was found, which said, "Last night was one of a kind. We stayed with a crackhead that is cool as hell. It snowed a little bit, but it's already melted. Let's talk about adventures. I had one hell of an adventure since I've been in on the big TN. It's a crazy world these days, but I love the fun adventures and the lessons I've learned. It's going to be a long, interesting year." The writing in the journal matched the handwriting
Why is this bitch smiling? Why are you smiling? You son of a bitch.
of Vanessa Coleman. Eric Boyd was found guilty of being an accessory to a fatal carjacking. He is the only suspect not to be charged with murder, and he was sentenced to a maximum of 18 years in a federal prison. LaTalvis Cobbins was found guilty of the murders and was sentenced to life without parole.
You got life.
Lamarcus Davidson was found guilty. The jury decided that he should receive the death penalty, and the judge said the crime was one of the most incredibly outrageous,
Wow.
cruel, and inhumane cases he had ever seen.
So
He
sad.
also said how people can engage in this type of conduct is just unexplainable, and that there is no sentence great enough to punish you for the conduct you have been convicted of.
Freaking
The
sad.
Supreme Court sentenced him to death in 2016. George Thomas was found guilty on multiple accounts and was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Vanessa Coleman was acquitted of first-degree murder, but found guilty on lesser charges, and she was sentenced to 53 years in prison. The waste
53
management
years.
company
Long time.
that was located near where the young couple were tortured bought the property, demolished it, and turned it into a memorial in their honor. So I guess what you're left wondering is, why did they do this? What motivated them to take the lives of this young couple?
I don't think they had a reason or a motive. They were just fucked up in the head. They did it for fun. No other reason.
And to do it so brutally? Well, some believe it was a racially motivated crime, since the victims were white and the killers black, and that they harbored animosity towards whites and lashed out. Others believe that it started as a carjacking, and it simply got carried away with the thrill of torture and murder, and the
Damn.
feeling of power that they would have had by doing this to them.
I feel like
So
I vaguely remember this story, guys. What did it say? 2007? I would have been like 10 years old. I feel like I vaguely remember this being on the news when I was a kid. It's kind of slowly coming back to me. I mean, I would have only been like 10 or 11, 2007, but I feel like I kind of remember this story when I was a kid a little bit. It was probably all over the news. I'm assuming it was probably all over the news when this happened, you know? Wow. Well, rest in peace to Chris and Channon. That's incredibly sad. Nobody deserves to die like that. Nobody deserves to have those terrible things done to them. It's absolutely sad.